The government used to ban alcohol. Now they're starting to ban some guns. Will they ever ban the Bible? Let's find out. Chase Liaki here with the Blue Futon reviewing Disciples in the Moonlight. What's about pretty simple premise. We are in the near future. We don't know exactly in the future, but the U.S. government said the Bible is dangerous, and we're going to make our own government-approved Bible, basically censorship. And now there are a couple people in America that are trying to smuggle these Bibles into specific churches that want the real Bible. Will they be able to do it? Let's find out. So, did I like this film? I thought it was an okay film. For 2 hours and 15 minutes, I thought it was pretty good. But there's just some overarching elements when I think about the movie where I said not a lot was really fleshed out. And I understand what they're going for with, smuggling Bibles. But what actually gets smuggled, I understand why they did it. But then I just think, the Bible is really freaking huge, right? So how many of these things have to be smuggled for each church to get a full Bible? So it's something I think about that way, and I know that they kept it contained where the government is so damn big that they can't really fight it, which I, to an extent, agree with that position, and there are some ballsy choices with this movie with who lives and who dies, so I'll give credit to the filmmakers for doing that. But I just think the overall experience was good, but a little bit underwhelming overall. So talk about the positives of the film. I do think it looks really well. Apparently, this movie took 10 years to make, or at least one of the directors, had a vision or a dream about running through a cornfield and gunshots, bam, bam, bam. And so he woke up, and then he kind of took that imagery and made it into a movie, and this is what came out of it. So when looking at it, I think it's a fine-looking movie. I think the acting overall is pretty good. Even though I would say there's decent amount of actors, not a lot of the actors get a lot of screen time. Yes, there might be 7 quote-unquote disciples that are trying to go from point A to point B to deliver the Bible, but you really only get a lot of messaging from one of the main guys, one that has issues with a wife and has a son. Then you have one that his wife died a couple years ago, and the daughter. Yet you have a truck driver, then you also have a firefighter, and you also have a brother character, which they are there, and they're good characters, but they're not getting enough arc or depth. You can say, well, that one brother character is given a lot of good depth and arc. I disagree. You knew from the start what he was going to do and what was actually going to occur. So, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So, the technical aspects, I do think there is some tense moments, especially in the third act of what is going to occur. Because in the first act, you kind of get, okay, what is this story? What is going on in America? The second act is kind of like figuring out what these 14 days are going to entail of how are they going to get the Bibles across the state lines and who's going to betray who. And then the third act is when it really occurs, the quote-unquote heist. And there is some good elements to that intense moment. I'll give it that. So, like I said, it's not a bad film, but I just think some things were just underwhelmed overall. So people might ask, is it a Christian movie? Is it preachy? To an extent, yes. I'll be straight up honest. One of the main characters, the guy who really is forceful with what he wants to do, even though his wife's like, don't do it. He's like, I got to do it. Everything he says is almost like he's preaching to the people he's talking to, or he's preaching to the people on screen. And that did kind of bother me a little bit because it felt a little bit too forceful. I understand some of the other characters, especially the guy that with the, I'm going to call it the ginger beard. I'm going to say, are you going to say the blonde beard? Even though he has some religious elements to his character as well, it wasn't as preachy. It felt more, grounded because he also had worse issues going on at home. Then you have the firefighter, you have the daughter, then you have the father character of the daughter. They had some elements to it, but nothing felt like I was being talked down to. Every time that one guy talked, though, I just felt like I was getting talked down to, and it kind of was like, I want to say degrading, but I was like, okay, I understand your message. Like, I understand your message. Then 10 minutes later, he says, like, I understand your message. I understand. His brother tries to say something in a car saying, hey, maybe we need a gun. No guns. Like, it's like, but they have guns. So it's like things like that where it's like, you got to fight fire with fire in some things. And some of the stuff he was saying was kind of eye-rolling in my opinion. And like I said, some of the arcs, not the greatest. But like I said, this is a Thematic Christian movie called Disciples in the Moonlight. I think it's a fine movie. I think it knows its audience and is going to play with its audience pretty well. But like an audience like me who isn't, like, I'll just see anything in movies. I'm not the biggest Christian person, but I'll watch Christian movies. And like I said, there's some fantastic Christian movies like Running the Bases. I really dug that movie through and throughout. That's one of the better ones, I think, from last year. The Hill was actually pretty good. And then a Dennis Quaid one that came out, I think, last year as well. I think it was The Hill. But yeah, there are some good ones out there where they have the message, but it's just an overall fun experience of like just different characters. And I understand what they're going for. With this one, it was good, but I wish it just didn't feel so shallow. Disciples in the Moonlight will receive a 3 out of 5 with Futon. So he goes at 60%. So see the critics and user scores gave this one. All right, so it looks like critics a 98% with over 50, and there is one critic, and he gives it a positive, and he's from the New York City Movie Guru, saying an exhilarating thriller that also serves as a provocative cautionary tale with just the right balance of action, suspense, intrigue, and poignancy. And of course, the audience score is a lot of 5 out of 5, so I completely understand that. Then you have a 3.5 out of a 5 out of 5. Like I said, it knows its crowd, and that is good. Sometimes movies need to know who they're for, and I cannot blame the filmmakers for doing that. But for me, I was expecting a little bit more, a little more depth, and a little better first and second act. But the third act, I really can't complain about that. So we'll go with the pretty solid audience score with the 98, my 60, and the guy from New York City Guru who liked it pretty well. Chase Scott here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One more thing is Bluetopia. You Blue Tonys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. You can watch a day tomorrow, week from, month, or a year from. I'll be saying if we can one of you. And that's okay. If you go in the comments below and say, how dare you not like this movie, I will never, never, ever down someone for liking a movie I didn't, or vice versa.